We are here with the final week of the regular season before we start to get into playoffs. And we have got four total playoff teams or potential playoff teams featured on the Risen Divine League today. Here on the mainstream, we've got Redakted taking on ISU Masters. And then on Risen Esports 2, we've got Dabimon and Spooky Mars covering. It is going to be We Love Solbert taking on the Travelers. So that's going to have some important playoff implications as well. We'll get into them in a second here, but I got to give Goferino a chance to talk. My name's Gordo. I'm joined by Goferino, and we've got a hell of a series coming up tonight, Goferino.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a hell of a series coming up here. Two of the top teams in the league, although Redacted is actually the number one team in the league, if my memory does serve correctly here. And they're looking to hold on to their number one spot right now and just secure the optimal seeding going into playoffs next week.
Absolutely here, and it's not actually going to be Redacted as the number one. They've been the number one throughout a lot of the
Mm,
season, but SDC Death Cards have locked in first seed for the playoffs.
all right.
They got a forfeit tonight to cement them up at that 6-1 record, and they have the head-to-head over Redacted. So even if Redacted makes it to 6-1, it will be SDC as the first seed. But yeah, this matchup here is going to determine how the rest of the seeding starts to shake on out. So if we take a look, I made myself a little cheat sheet here. I've been working on this all afternoon. All right, if ISU wins, they will advance as the second seed. If ISU loses, they will advance as a bottom two seed. And similar situation for Redacted. If Redacted wins, they will advance as the second seed. If Redacted loses, they will advance as the third seed. So a battle to get yourself a top two seed and an easier matchup for the first round of playoffs is what's going to be going on here. Over on the other stream, it's a win and in match. If We Love Solbert wins, they will make it into playoffs. If Travelers wins, they will make it into playoffs. The loser of that series will also be eliminated.
Yeah, that one definitely going to catch some eyes, though. Travelers have had some pretty good showings on stream this season. Definitely some interesting matches. We love Solbert. I don't think we've streamed them yet this season, unless it was earlier in the season. But they've definitely been having a rougher time uh getting things going, so to speak, on Solbert's side.
Yeah, they definitely have. That's going to be a super interesting matchup. If you want to double screen it, I fully recommend it. Otherwise, choose your match, check on in. We'll be keeping an eye on the partner stream throughout the night to give you guys updates on what that means for our overall standings and who the four teams making playoffs at the end of the day are going to be. There's only 5 teams total in contention, so it's really going to
Mhm.
be ISU, Redacted, SDC, and then whoever the winner of that Risen 2 matchup is that are going to make up the slots. And then the question is going to be the seeding, right? SDC, they've already locked in first, and then who's going to get second? That's what we're determining here on the mainstream tonight.
And both the teams really got to be gunning for it because obviously, if ISU Masters win this, both the teams will be 5-2. And since ISU Masters has the head-to-head, they'll be the ones with the higher seed. But both these teams have at least locked in their playoff spots. So no matter what the result is here tonight, both of them will be heading out to playoffs next week for a shot at the big trophy and the big shebang.
Yeah, definitely going to be a really spicy bracket. Once we start to get into it, it's going to be full double elim, so going to be a couple of weeks of play. Find out who is going to get eliminated and who's going to be first, second, third, fourth. We're going to get it all the way down. So we can take a look at what our predictions for this particular series are going to be tonight. We got Spooky and Dabimon to weigh in as well. And overall, there's quite a bit of favoritism towards Redacted apart from Dabimon.
Yeah, I mean, kind of speaks for itself here too. Redacted has been pretty dominant all season long. ISU, they've done pretty good for themselves, just haven't been as dominant on the Rift as Redacted here. And I think that's why we've all been going with it. I think Dabimon said they were going ISU mostly to have someone that is going against Spooky right now. I might be wrong on that one, since that could have been the other prediction.
Yeah, there's probably if you want to use the transitive property to try to hype up a team, there's definitely a path you can take to get excited about ISU, right? They're one of the only teams that have beaten the Travelers who are playing on Risen 2 right now. That ISU upset is part of the reason the Travelers are at risk of not making playoffs in the first place. And then Travelers is the only team that beat the Death Cards, who are going in as our first seed. So, doesn't take too many jumps, too many degrees from Kevin Bacon before you get yourself a little bit hyped on ISU, so they definitely have a shot here. They've shown up against teams that we know can be really good here, and against fellow playoff teams as well. And if they're looking to make a deep run in this playoffs, they're going to have to show up against teams like Redacted, who we have
Mhm.
plucked as a potential finalist contender.
Yeah, I mean, Redacted. You wouldn't be too insane for saying that you think they have a shot at hitting finals here. And ISU, like you said, gonna have to prove it tonight's show that they are able to go toe to toe with these top teams and come out on top. It looks like, oh, I thought we were getting debated into the champions like there, but
We'll get
nope.
there
Yeah,
for too
yeah, because
long.
we got the draft wall. And I saw the transition. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, great opportunity to start chatting about the teams that we've got coming in here tonight. ISU Master, they're a collegiate team, a JV collegiate team at that, and I think coming with that territory often is a little bit more of a traditional approach to the meta. At least that's how things tend to work out. They prioritize the Xinjiao for hauls very heavily. They've been really getting into the Oriana meta over the
Hey.
course of the last couple of weeks, and it looks like a snapshot of what a lot of Worlds teams are drafting when you look at what ISU's gone for. But Redacted has been a team that not only has been more successful competitively here in the Risen Divine League, but they have been going for some real spicy picks the whole way through.
Yeah, and we'll see if they bring that out here on the Rift tonight. Because, like you said, World's kind of that overhanging specter influencing everybody's drafts, even though that patch is um, 2 patches old at this point. Everybody's still looking at that, and that is what all the super competitive players are going. So let's draft us some of that too here. We should be starting with this draft in just a minute here. We at least got the overlay down, but I haven't heard any word from Caddy.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's get into a little specifics about what we've seen out of Redacted over the last couple of weeks, right? Asadero, been a big carry top lane player, maining the Darius every chance he gets to pluck that one up, and drawing a lot of Fiora bans as well. Got a Tryndamere game in there while he's at it. So been very focused on these kind of carry style top laners. And then Martial Arts for Y in the mid lane, he's been bringing out a lot of those melee picks himself. So they've been very frequently going for these kind of double melee carries. Martial Arts playing a lot more champions that you might expect to see in the top lane. He's played a couple of games of Renekton, he's played some Nasus, he's played some Sejuani, and they've been pairing that up with some of these powerful carry junglers. The Belveth, they played some Pantheon, they got some Kayn in there, a little bit of Gwen, a little bit of Morgana, a little bit of Talia, all sorts of these real focuses towards getting Mr. America out to success, and maybe playing a little bit more sacrificially for Martial Arts for Y in the mid lane.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely been what they have been kind of doing in a lot of these matches here. That's something we'll have to see if that does come up again tonight. I mean, it is comfort for a reason here, but we have been seeing much more selfish mid laners typically in the meta, so definitely expecting those to at least pop up here and there tonight.
Absolutely. And just waiting to get the draft started here before too long, but
Mhm.
definitely going to be an interesting one to check out. I mean, some of the contested picks between these teams are what's going to be really curious to me. I wonder what you do about the Renekton. Right? It feels like he's such a big part of the meta right now. That safe, blindable top laner, even more so in the hands of Redacted, who are willing to flex
Mhm.
it towards mid lane. You got to wonder what exactly they are going to do to approach that here for ISU, as they've played a little bit of Renekton here and there, but do they like it on Svoboda enough that they're going to try to steal away the pick and it's going to be contested, or are they just going to ban it away all night long? Similar question about the Xinjiao, right? Mr.
Mhm.
America played it a little bit, gotten a banned against him a little bit, but it's Halls' bread and butter. So how do you deal with that on the side of Redacted?
Yeah, I mean, there's always the way of dealing with it through bans. Shinzao as a champion though tends to be pretty aggressive. So aggressive it knocks out my co-caster's camera there. But um, you kind of know what the Shinzao's gonna do. Wants to go for those brawls early. Wants to get a lot of skirmishes done early. Wants to build up that early lead. So if you're just able to stifle that through any sort of champion, that's usually a great way to fight against it. But you do always have the ban angle if you do so. Please here if you are redacted.
They do. They do. The other big pick that Martial Arts for Y has been dipping into, especially in recent weeks, has been that Swain. Really like Swain right now, and a lot of people have been talking about it as a bot laner, something that you can pair up with the support and have a lot of those really powerful lanes with. He's been playing at mid lane, and he's been playing at mid lane to a lot of success. So, been a player that's not only been taking the melees for himself, but also very adept at punishing those melees and getting into lane circumstances where could be really influential around the map, can assist Mr. America on
Mhm.
whatever wacky champion they're bringing to the table that day, can roam up top to make sure Asadero is going to be successful. And then Uga Booga in the bot lane has also really been focused in on that Vayne, that Kaisa, these kind of shorter range carries. So having something like another melee in mid or a Swain to buy you space, always super valuable as we are getting into draft for game number 1 right now.
Mhm.
Redakted going to lead us off with a Silas ban.
Yeah, that was immediate there. It's going to be the reply with that Renekton ban here from ISU Masters, not wanting to deal with the flex potential that Redacted has shown here throughout the season. I'm curious what the rest of the bans are going to look like here, because right now, these are two pretty meta picks here. Yes, you don't always see the Silas taken off the board, but you see that banned off the board, and you're like, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. If we see any more meta taken off the board, or if we see some much more pinpointed bans here, looking to target out some of these specific gamers on the Rift.
Yeah, I'm gonna be keeping my eyes on that one. It does look like the Jarvan gonna get taken away from Halls. Still haven't seen the Xin Zhao. There's those Renekton and Swain bans we talked about. It's gonna take away that flexible Renekton from both Asadero and Martial Arts, and the Swain from Martial Arts for Y as well. Looking to focus in on that particular top side of the map. It's gonna leave support and AD carry a little bit more open than we frequently see. ISU going to lose access to that Talia. It's going to be
Mhm.
another jungle mid flex. It's not been one that's been too huge for these teams so far, at least for ISU. But they decide, hey, you know what? We're going to take that off the board right now.
Yep, and let's see what the final ban here is. Lots of powerful carries available in the bot lane. Both Jinx and Xayah still up and available. If you want to, you can take away the Lovers Duo bot if Redacted do go for the Jinx B1 here, because Jinx kind of widely considered the best ADC in the meta right now after the buffs have kind of pushed her a little over the top here and is able to crush people. But it's going to be the Morgana B1, interestingly enough, that is going to be a flex pick, as we have talked about. And it does mean that ISU Masters, though, have the option to lock in quite a nasty bot lane here on their R1, R2 if they do so, please.
Yeah, the Xayah Rakan's up, as you talked about, though. That Jinx, super heavily prioritized in the current meta after the last changes. I think that pick's completely busted. Definitely some options there. I would estimate that the Morgana is more likely going to be for Mr. America in the jungle. And then here's a big pick for ISU. Halls gets his hands on his Xin Zhao. This is going to be his 8th Xin Zhao game in the regular season. Very, very willing to lock this into any and all matchups. And ISU are going to be very happy that they have something they're so comfortable on.
Yep. Let's see what it's paired with here. Already have the jungle matchups. Assuming that Morgana is going to the jungle like we are predicting. Expecting an ADC Ashe. The priority here, interesting. That can help set up the Xin Zhao, not only because you have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow and it helps Xin Zhao get on top of people, but also just because the Hawk Shot early on lets the Xin Zhao keep up the tempo, know where the enemy jungle is. Hey, they're topside. That's a very easy invade for me, but the Sif are going to be the response here. Struggles against the Ashe early on just due to the range disadvantage, but having Spell Shield against the Enchanted Crystal Arrow is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, just chucking the 80 carry meta out the window a little bit to start things off as High goes for the Ashe. It's his second most played AD over the course of the season, but most played was the Xayah. I'm really surprised that we didn't see a little bit more focus towards the Xayah Rakan end up coming through here. Maybe the Morgana dissuades that a little bit, as a lot of the power of the Rakan does get
Mhm.
nullified by that Black Shield. But Sivir Alistair going to be the lock-in for the bottom lane here for Uga Booga and Show Me. They look to see what they're going to be able to play up against this Ashe. ISU now with an opportunity to lock a support or to take themselves a solo laner and then ban to defend it.
Yeah. Um, I'm expecting a support here just to lock in the bot lane, and then you can look to lock in the solo lanes here in the second round. That is what they're going to do. They're going to pick the Rakan, even though it is against the Alistar, who can very easily just headbutt you out of fights and is more tankier than you. So, if, the Alistar gets on top of you, it is much harder for you in the Ashe to kill said Alistar. But just locking in a very powerful support right now, because if that goes to the second round of bans, most likely going to be taken off the board here, and we're probably going to see a lot of just targeted solo laner bans here in this second round.
Yeah, that is going to leave me with some questions, though. If you end up locking the Rakan anyway, if you're happy with Rakan into Morgana, I do really wonder why you wouldn't just take the Zaya Rakan while it was available. That was definitely an option that ISU
Mhm.
had. I suppose they couldn't take both at the same time with that Ashe selection, but you can just snag the Rakan and see what happens from there. Instead, it's going to be the Ashe Rakan duo in the bottom lane for ISU, and now focusing in towards those solo lanes, Darius going to get taken off the board for Asadero pretty fast. His Tryndamere going to bite it as well. They just decide, hey, we want to make sure that Svoboda is going to be playing in a matchup that he's comfortable with. The Jax and the Gwen are both banned away, but their most played has been the Ornn. They've been very happy to take that. If they want to just take that now and save counter pick for a mid, I think that would make a lot of sense for ISU Master.
Yeah, and a couple of Ornn counters have been banned here, most notably the Gwen, who scales well into it. But gotta make sure they lock it down the Orianna here in the mid lane. That champion just so strong right now. Um, because you just hit like two items and then you kind of kill anyone that isn't a super tank. So, going to be adding more utility, more burst here for the side of ISU Masters. I wouldn't be surprised if they look towards having a tank top here. It might be facing the Udyr in the top lane, though, with this current hover. Unless it's Morgana mid with Udyr jungle, that definitely is a possibility. We'll have much more of an idea, though, once the B5 is locked in. I'm kind of leaning towards the first option, though.
The other option is you could put the Udyr mid, especially with how much Martial Arts for Y has been prioritizing those kind of top laney mid laners so far this season. He's played the Renekton, the Nasus, the Sejuani, stuff like
Mm,
that. And that's been a big part of. We've seen other teams play that kind of game before. It was a big pick for Insanity when he was on Dignitas Challengers, I remember, was just playing that mid lane Udyr maxing Phoenix stance, just pushing and roaming all day long, playing like a second jungler could be something that Redacted want to go with for Martial Arts for Y, but that set is not going to give us any clarity. That's just going to keep the question open of, is it going to be top lane set? Is it going to be jungle set, mid lane set? Probably not jungle, but the others are definitely on the table, as the Gnar will be the final pick of the draft for Svoboda. He's gotten this banned against him a whole lot, hasn't gotten a whole bunch of opportunities to play it, though. Decides that that's going to be a safe catch-all into what is likely going to be set in the top lane.
yeah. It's either set or the Udyr. Unless we see the Dark Tech Morgana top. But gonna have a solid matchup into either of those. You are gonna have the range advantage. You are gonna be able to just pelt them down with those hyper percent HP damage procs, and you should just scale up to be a very nice team fighter here. Get a good engage. You have a bit of a good wombo. You have the Gnarlty. You have the Orianna. You have the combo. Great tools for starting off a fight here for sure on ISU Masters, and definitely looking for a front to back dealio. A bit of a wombo combo as well.
Yeah, looks very good for their actual front to back abilities here. They are pretty reliant on the Morgana as the sole source of magic damage, but I'm guessing this is going to be Udyr mid set top, Morgana jungle. The Morgana and the Udyr, of course, can be swapped around. Either way, the Morgana is going to get enough money to be that AP damage threat that you need. So a little bit non-traditional, but definitely should still come together and give you a good mixed damage profile as you start to come into the game. Especially because Udyr deals a surprising amount of magic damage, especially in modern days where he's got that big AoE Phoenix stance. It pumps you with a fair bit of magic damage if it gets to tick across you for a while.
Yeah, that and also it does help that IC Masters, they don't have like a super pure tank here. You have the Gnar and Shin Zhao, two champions that will definitely get tanky as the game goes on, especially the Gnar, but they aren't itemizing pure tank. It's not like they go back on their first base, buy six ruby crystals, six cloth armor, six null magic mantles. No, they do go for the bruisery itemization. Maybe they get like something like, say, a Randuin's or something in there, yada, yada, yada. But you don't have to worry too much about having to burst through people here as redacted. You definitely have the damage. Um, the biggest concern is that you do have Alstar Udyr set and a very close range AD carry against this Wombo combo comp. And I'm just looking at Redacted to see how they play around this to avoid just getting absolutely popped.
That is the risk as we get into the in-client draft here. Just taking a quick look across Illuminous in the mid lane. Martial Arts for Y in the top is a interesting development here for Redacted. So looks like Asadero is going to be out and they're going to have a substitute for this game number one. Something to keep in mind as we start to get out of the rift for potential game number one.
Yep, I'm just going through the client side draft right now. Should be getting some clarification where everybody on Redacted is going. I mean, we have a pretty good idea, but we just want to be sure. Want to be the first time we're like, yes, everybody's going here, and then it's like, there's like a pick or two going in a different lane. You're like, my bad. But either way, though, we'll see how things develop here on the Rift. Both these teams definitely have some pretty strong team fighting potential. I'm not expecting like a very hard split push angle from either of these. I'm expecting definitely a lot of the big 5v5s, especially come mid to the late game.
Definitely true. And yeah, you got to be a little concerned for Redacted then on their chances coming into this series, given that Asadero has been such a big carry force for them, and the fact that you can even kind of estimate from the bans that there was an assumption coming in from the other side that it would be Asadero in the top lane, draws the Tryndamere ban, draws the Darius ban. Those have been big picks for him. And then that Renekton and Swain bans feel like they're focused towards martial arts for Y as a mid laner rather than as a top laner. As we do get into the incline draft, we can see that Illuminus is going to be the one piloting the Morgana in the mid lane. Mr. America going to be piloting into the jungle. So new layer to the Redacted draft prep strategy that somebody's going to have to do for playoffs either way. Remember, both of these teams have locked playoffs already. Now you have to wonder for Redacted, right? Is the Morgana jungle? Is it mid lane? Nobody plays this champion anyway. Do they also flex its support? A lot of questions that are going to be open when playing against this team.
Yeah, although not gonna lie, I've tried Morgana mid a few times, and it's like you technically have damage, but you kind of really have to land the binds. So I'm leaning towards this might just be a bit more of a one-off thing and a
Yeah.
potential back block effects when it comes to later on the playoffs. But we'll see how it works here. It is against the Orianna, relatively immobile. If you get hit with a bind as the Orianna, that's very easy to just drop the pool underneath the robot and just kind of slowly kill him to death.
Yeah, I had a Morgana mid-phase back in the day, and I'm pretty sure most of the numbers are still fairly similar to what they were back in the day, and that means that the problem with Morgana mid, especially in organized play, remains that you can't really effectively wave clear until at an absolute minimum level 5. You need 3 points in W before it kills the casters, and at a minimum, right, you need to be able to just plop down W and kill a caster wave to be able to like push and contest the wave the way that a traditional mid laner can. Let's not get too overboard with the who's a real mid laner, who's a fake mid laner stuff.
She
But
used to be a mid laner primarily. But then
she did
people
back
found
in the
out it's like
day.
you just land the binding, bro. It's so
Well,
easy
it
in
was just
support.
landing the binding, and then it was just like I remember there was a time period where it was like Morgana mid, Kennen mid. It was just getting big AoE CC ultimates, and those were kind of the best ones of the game. There just weren't that many in contention. You know, you couldn't play a Mumu in the mid lane or anything like that. So if you could get a mage that could dish out that damage and be that big team fighting force, it was a great tool to have in your arsenal, and led to Morgana being a really heavily prioritized pick. Not really those days anymore, though. Kind of been left behind, both due to the mobility of the cast and just the other valuable tools that folks prioritize coming out of that lane.
Yeah, that in her kit just kind of feels like a platypus of mid lane because it's like you got your QW. It's like okay, that's super long range for the combo, but then you have your ulti and you have to run in to chain them. They did give some love to Morgana mid this patch, buffing up the W damage just a little bit. I think in all ranks really. So I want to see how it plays out here, so I can play it in a flex queue since that's the only queue I play. Either way, though, I mean, Morg plus Sever gonna be a nightmare to shove against because they both will delete waves as the game goes on, and you don't really have the instant wave deletion. You know, you have fair wave clear yourself. It's just gonna be obnoxious facing every single wave of yours immediately dying.
Yeah, absolutely. Gonna be really tough to push into these folks, especially if they're wise about where they choose to allocate their resources, right? You can just have one in each lane. Pretty much hard stall 2 lanes as long as you want, as long as Sivir and Morgana are there. And the Morgana kind of both really, as both have spell shields. It's kind of a self-solving problem on, well, what if you get ganked while you're trying to clear these waves? Well, both of them can immune at least one CC ability, if not multiple, over on the side of the Morgana. So it's going to be really helpful there, especially when you're up against, these kind of time-gated champions like the Gnar, who's going to be looking to be able to dive in and get that big Gnar onto the rest of your team. It's going to be tough to do against Black Shield, going to be tough to do against Spell Shield, and, right there, those are your 2 biggest targets right off the board.
Yeah, it does help that the Gnar ultimate does hit multiple people. So even if two of them happen to have spell shield slash black shields on them, you can stun the other three. You know, you can do a fat wallop on them as well. But I'm going through the runes right now. Nothing too surprising here. The fleet of footwork coming out on this set, just so you can get on top of this Gnar. Definitely a matchup specific thing here for a martial guy.
Yeah, it is really interesting actually. Redacted has got some crowd control immunity like across the board, right? They've got Black Shield on Morgana, they've got the Spell Shield on Sivir, they've got Unbreakable Will for Alistair to cleanse out of stuff, and they've got you can empower your Bear Stance or Bear still?
A ram
Yes.
stance.
Ram Stance. Thank you. Bear Stance is the new Tiger Stance. Orange is the new black, whatever.
Huh.
The yeah, the Ram Stance Empower is also a CC immune, so you can if everybody pairs everything together perfectly, Set's the only one you can CC, and even Set doesn't particularly care that much. Is that a concern for you if your ISU go for Reno, or do you think it's just going to be too unlikely for all those things to come up and make a difference at once?
Uh, I'm leaning a little bit more towards the latter option there, like all of them coming together at once. The big ones are going to be the Spell Shield and Black Shield. Because if you see the CC immunity coming out from Mr. America's Udyr, that's because they're just trying to get into the backline and just haul ass to get on top of High's legacy. And yeah, that's what I'm kind of leaning towards. But honestly, it could throw a lot of wrenches in the plan of ISU Masters, since a lot of your engage is like, yes, let's go in. We have a bunch of CC. You know, we got Ashe, we got Rakan, we got Gnar, and then they just happen to be CC immune. You know, I can throw
Yeah,
a
no,
little
I mean,
wrench in those plans.
yeah, I'm definitely concerned about. You know, it varies from champ to champ, right? Maybe Gnar, it's a little bit instantaneous enough that you can still make a play happen. The same thing with something like a Rakan or an Orianna, but I'm really worried about Enchanted Crystal Arrow, right? Like, it's going to be really tough to find somebody to land that on, especially if Morgana's got her mechanics down pat and can reactively Black Shield for an ally. Sivir can do the same with her Spell Shield. Going to be really tough to land Crystal Arrows onto her, and run back through the list of everything I just said. It's going to be really tough to try to find an actual pick target. Maybe going to need to rely a little bit more on the Rakan, the Gnar, the Orianna, the Xin Zhao playing as dive buddies, getting on in, and being able to have enough different sources to not be able to be nullified by some of those issues.
Yeah, the good news is you do have multiple forms of CC here as ISU Masters. I do hear rift sounds, so we should be getting into games soon in just a second here. Haven't heard a word yet from our game round broadcast caddy. So you guys get to hear us talk a little bit more about. There's a lot of CC immunity here from Redacted coming on out.
Transition on in just a couple of seconds as yeah, I mean there's definitely a no, I think we're ready to get in a game there. Never
Okay.
mind. As we can get onto the rift now for game number 1. Redacted taking on ISU Masters. Best of 3 to determine seeding coming into the playoffs. Redacted looking to lock down a top 2 seed. ISU looking to do the same.
And everybody just hopping out on to the rift here. Morgana Alistar is very disgusting level 1. If you do want to force something. It's pretty non-committal too, because you just lead with the bind. Usually, like, throw out the bind, maybe you force out a flash, and you're like, all right, you know, I worked. Or throw out the bind, maybe it lands, then you flash Pulve, and you probably get a kill. I saw that edit, Caddy.
Very possibly could. We're just going to have a pretty simple level 1 here. A interesting matchup both in mid and jungle that we do not get to see too frequently. Very curious to see how the two duos are going to be able to face off against each other. You got to feel like a lot more combat power coming off of the Orianna Xin Zhao, but will the Udyr and Morgana be able to just push and roam and forget about it as long as possible?
Yeah, needs to be seen here. I'm definitely really curious of the pushing power here of this Morgana, since even when you are able to delete waves as this Morgana with the pool, it is such a taxing thing on your mana. Like, even if you have mana flow, even if you have your lost chapter item, like, you will chew through mana. Maybe if you have tier, then it should be fine, but like, then you're delaying Zonias, so I want to see if that comes up as an issue.
Absolutely. It's going to be focused towards the red side of their jungle for both the junglers, looking to potentially path towards opposite sides. Martial arts for Y on the set, something else to keep a close eye on. You can really turn these trades up against the Gnar very quickly, especially if you manage to pull in that mini Gnar. Get a good, solid trade out, but already the issues with Morgana mid are making themselves apparent. It's Mighty Kraus being able to get the push here in these early levels pretty easily. It might make it difficult for Illuminous to even be able to pick up all this farm. So there's the pullback in from martial arts. He gets a couple of good punches in.
Yeah, if you're able to get on top of Mininar here as set, you are definitely able to bring a wallop. See that happen to Savona there. Just gets a little too close. He's level 3 now, has the hop, so will be able to hop out of any danger. And is also Meganar, you know, that really helps with dealing any pain coming your way. Yeah, all is calm on the Rift. No real kill threat right now coming out from anyone, even though we see some pretty aggressive trading coming out. Coming out of the solo laners.
Yeah, Mighty Kraus tanking a lot of Dark Bindings and tanking the minions for quite a bit there, on top of all the spell vamp you get as Morgana's. Gonna put him a little bit behind in the health department, but still going up in CS, which is what you should get to do in this matchup and what your end goal is going to be, as long as certain old Udyr doesn't show up to your lane and force a flash. Looks like Mighty Kraus has enough distance there, thanks to the ward, to be able to get away in time.
Everybody just gonna battle on out of that one. Oh, all right. I saw the knuckle up pop there from martial arts for Y. So I was like, okay, you know, they're going in. Yeah, they're kind of looking for it. Does it not go in the end? Have a bit of a gank shaping up in the mid lane here, potentially. Got Halls sitting on the edge as the Xin Zhao. No bot side farm, no bot side camps to really take right now, so can just recall here, wait for a gank. Junglers might meet up here, actually.
Nice spell shield there by Ooga Booga. Ends up winning that trade in the bottom lane for the side of Redakted. Mighty Kraus now low on mana, trying to keep the wave cleared on out, but coming out of this with about a wave and a half of a lead. Feels pretty good pre-level 6 as the mid lane. Doesn't look like Halls liked what he saw in that bottom side, as he ends up just taking a recall, getting his first buy, and returning to the map.
Yeah, had a bit of spare time there. Both these junglers doing a full clear, plus grabbing a scuttle. Although since Mr. America did not spend a bunch of time waiting, looking for a potential gank, they just ran right back down to their Krugs after grabbing the top scuttle there. They're just going to keep the farm train going. Now up one camp, and going to be up 2 camps here in just a second as Halls getting onto their Krugs. And both junglers just looking to build up some levels here, look for an opportunity to attack in one of these lanes and try and get this series going off for their team on the right foot.
Definitely, I think a quiet early game feels pretty good for Redakted, given that they're waiting for a little bit of scaling on quite a few of these champions. Curious on your thoughts, though, Gofarino. How do you feel like the Xin Zhao matchup develops? So I'm saying that a nice double knockup landed by Show Me, going to result in another positive trade for Redakted. But as I was saying, do you feel like Halls really needs to make plays happen in the early game, or do you think he can wait a little longer?
You don't have to, but you really want to. That's just kind of how Xin Zhao operates. Like, it doesn't really matter what the matchup is, whether the plays in question are, hey, you know, I went for a gank, we got a kill, and then look for something afterwards, or hey, I was able to get a nice skirmish down. You just want to get a lead with Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao is a champion that loves getting leads, looks to generate leads, and just snowball off of those. I mean, technically that applies to every champion in League of Legends, but Xin Zhao's kit just kind of asks you to look for those snowball angles so you can get a huge lead up. That's a good knockup from both these supports here.
Yeah, High Legacy losing a lot of HP. Going to have to back on away. The Ghost is popped by Ooga Booga as well to make sure they can get those last couple autos. And Prio in mid plus Prio in bot means that Halls should be able to secure this dragon pretty easily. Mr. America paying a visit towards bot, though, seeing if they can catch an opportunity where Chuzzy Guns might be up a little bit too far. Show Me maybe getting a little too aggro with it, as Chuzzy will go in for the double knockup, but is able to get out pretty easily, and Show Me actually taking a lot of damage over the course of that trade.
Ooh, it's not over yet. Good stun.
There is the double bear stance for that extra damage, but the slows are coming through, and Halls is going to be there. The flash
nice
away
pop.
from Mr. America, but Wind becomes lightning, connects, and first blood goes over to Halls as Ooga Booga is going to be able to dissuade the rest with those bouncing boomerangs. Show Me will be safe, but a nice first blood picked up for ISU in the bot lane.
Yep. Ooh, Lord, and a great champion to get it on as well here. Hall's able to hit level 6 now. Thanks to that kill, thanks to some extra farm they managed to pick up here. And this Xin Zhao, definitely the position you want. You got the first dragon here, easy peasy. You got first blood on this Xin Zhao. Now you have the whip on this recall, and you can look to just start bullying people now that you are level 6 to the enemy jungler, who is only level 5.
Good stuff there from the ISU Masters squad to set them out to an early advantage, and continuing to win out in this mid lane, by the way. About a 20 CS lead for Mighty Kraus, really making this Orianna Morgana matchup feel like it's a meta versus off meta pick showdown, right? There's difficulties for this Morgana in the laning phase, and Mighty Kraus has done a great job of exploiting them so far.
Yep. Oh, okay, Svoboda. Yep, this is a Gnar into the melee matchup when the melee does not have a dash to get immediately on top of you. Martial arts is going to eat a fatty trade off the end of that and result in a little bit of extra CS differential here in the top side. While that's happening, we do see the Rift Herald being taken by ISU Masters with the roam up from Shuzzy. Going to help secure that as they just walk back on bot here. Make sure that high legacy does not get dope here. You know, you are against a level 6 Alistar, and you are just a lonesome Ashe, so you don't really want to get too close to that. You don't want to leave that Ashe there alone for too long.
Absolutely. It's interesting that the supports haven't really found time to get out of the bot lane so far. It's been a lot of pressure from Chuzzy and High so far. Not really ending up with too much of a lead off the back of it, other than that kill, of course, that they were able to pick up by collapsing onto Mr. America. So he's going to test his luck around the map, doesn't end up finding anything in mid, and will return back to make sure that High Legacy can pick these up pretty safely. Keep things evened up in this bottom lane, but Svoboda and Mighty Kraus continuing to build up leads in their solo lanes, and I think that's where the big difference is coming through for ISU, more so than the first blood.
Yeah, like 30 CS in the mid lane, oof. Like 67 CS, 68 CS in 10, you know, it's not terrible. Like, that's fine, honestly. But Mighty Kraus just being uncontested for the most part, being able to freely farm in this mid lane, that's an issue. That's nearly 10 CS a minute. And we know what Orianna can do. She can become quite the carry, quite the nuke, and you don't want to be on the receiving end of that 10 CS per minute shockwave if you can help it here.
Yeah, definitely not. And now the addition of the Merc Tread is going to make it really tough to do anything as this Morgana trade back and forth in the bottom lane once again, going to end up favoring High Legacy as Chuzzy gets the knockup. It's a good trade angle. As Svoboda going in as the Mega Gnar. Don't think he's going to have kill pressure over the set here, but really going to do some damage to the health bars. Yeah, he just pushes him back away. Knows this is the best angle I'm going to get to Mega Gnar in a while.
Hover in the bot lane here from this Udyr. Mr. America can look for this, although you need the headbutt pulve combo from Show Me to really make things happen. Not going to pull that trigger quite yet. We got Dragon in less than a minute. Second of the game. That first Dragon taken pretty damn early here by Hulls. So ISU Master able to lock down this next Dragon pretty soon after it spawns. They can threaten a nice and early soul.
God, and they should be able to as well, right? They've got the push in both of the relevant lanes. Mr. America up on top side right now with 30 seconds to go. Maybe seeing an opportunity to do something to Svoboda, and he's going to have to hope that that works out, as he's lost out on the Rift Herald. Halls has really been running the map in this early game.
Yep, at least able to keep up in CS here as this Udyr. Not able to keep up in the objectives though, and that one kill is going to be a big thing to take note of. You see getting pretty close to finishing off that Gore Drinker here. And pops the Herald in the mid lane. That's going to funnel even more gold into Mighty Kraus here. Has a huge CS lead. Has 3 plates to their name. And now you're grabbing this second Dragon pretty close to when it respawned here. This is a very huge leap forward for ISU Masters, even though they didn't get a single kill.
Definitely a big leap forward for them as they're going to be securing themselves this dragon, and ISU Masters now up 2-0 in that department, up 2k gold across the map. And it's not off kills, it's off farm, it's off objectives,
And one
it's off
kill.
plating.
Yeah. I mean, just seems to right now be a laning gap between these two teams. I'll see what Redacted can do. Start looking for some fights, start looking for some picks here. Oof. Try and get something going. We have a roam in this mid lane. It was spotted by a control here in the river. So showing me not going to be able to make that one happen.
Yeah, definitely some unfortunate lane matchups for Redacted here, and Mr. America on the hard farming Udyr has yet to be able to find a way to kind of cheat those matchups or make them unfair. He's kind of been stuck farming away at his own camps, hasn't been able to steal away too much either, and just getting choked out in this early game so far as Redacted. They're going to be hoping to scale, but they're not happy with this so far as Halls flashes over that Dark Binding and will pick up a solo kill against Illuminus.
Oof. And that's 2-0 on this Xin Zhao now. All 2 kills in the game. That one was also a solo. No one getting any assist money for that. We're at the enemy mid laner's flash, though. That lowers the Luminous' threat, though, because a Morgana with flash much more easily able to follow up on binds and convert those into kills.
Absolutely. Good stuff there so far, and Balls is really just running this game. He's gotten everything he wants. He's gotten every objective. Here's a chance once again as Martial Arts for Y pulls Svoboda underneath the tower. Svoboda just trying to buy some time here, kiting it out with the boomerang, gets the extra hyper proc, trying to beat some distance while the jungler shows up to help. And now there's a fight breaking out in the bottom lane. Shomi taking the bulk of the damage, but is going to be able to throw down that Unbreakable Will, and it's Legacy taking all the damage. He's going to drop on the top side. They finally found Svoboda, and Halls is bitten off more than he can chew. He's going to go down in the 2-on-2. It's a shutdown over to Mr. America, and just like that, Redacted, they picked themselves up 3.
3 for none here. Beautiful play on the bot side. Hold that thought, because we got the Orianna roaming here from mid. Mighty Kraus also able to get first turn in that play. Flashes, does not dodge the headbutt allegations, though.
Ooh, nice dodge out there, and there's going to be a spell shield on to the Shockwave, but Ooga Booga chased back underneath the turret, going to have to expend the flash. But both get out with their lives. That's more than you could have initially anticipated as a teleport in from Illuminus to try to save this tower.
Illuminus just got here, bruh. They're already at half health. Holy. Yeah, this Orianna is a problem, and I mean, ISU Masters, they could have guaranteed a kill there on that play in bot side, but since both Mighty Kraus and Chuzzy kind of splitting their focus just a little bit there, both enemies end up getting on out of that. Testing the Herald, though.
Yeah, looking around to see who's going to be able to take second Herald, as there's going to be the teleport in from Mighty Kraus. Mr. America pushed back and will go over to Halls as well. Still not feeling super confident in even-numbered fights is the side of Redacted, and they're going to give things up to ISU once again. Another Rift Herald is picked up, and this one might be able to secure them a second outer turret.
Would be absolutely huge if they're able to do that, because they still got a nice little gold lead right now. You know, 2K at 16. There's nothing to write home about, but it's definitely something to write about, and especially with how hard it's been funneled in the mid lane. Since you got that huge CS gap, be able to get all 5 plates of gold on this Orianna as well. Mighty Kraus sitting on 1.5 items already. That's gonna hurt here, especially around this next dragon coming up in 40 seconds that you imagine Redacted kind of has to contest here, because you can't just give up soul point here.
Definitely not. Not when it's Mountain Soul. Going to be so difficult to play through that. As a composition that I would argue is relatively low damage, right? You kind of need that Sivir to be the one providing the bulk of it, and Morgana's not going to do as much
Okay.
as something like an Orianna. That's a 3-man ultimate, pretty good on the Soul
Big
Shackles. Will be able to
shockwave.
pick that kill on a Chuzzy Guns, but the damage dealers are still here. And Illuminous going to drop right after. A nice showstopper in from Martial Arts for
Oh,
Y, though, is going to be
beautiful.
able to pull both of them in with the face breaker and pick up a shutdown for Mr. America. Gets one onto Halls for himself as well. It's Svoboda and High Legacy. They got to get out of here. Nice flash away from the pulverized headbutt combo, and now is just going to have to kite them with volleys. Mr. America pretty fast on the Udyr, but not fast enough. Will back away from the fight and start up the Dragon as Redakted win out on another fight.
Yep, huge collapse there by Redacted. That is one of the strengths of the Morgana, and since it is Morgana mid, when you're diving under turret, there's a 3-gamer chains coming out here. Illuminous is going to do a lot of damage there, has the stopwatch in their inventory, able to buy a lot of time there. Yes, you do grab the turret, but you're not able to get anything else in return. You lose soul point here. Importantly, you give over that shutdown here. Some kills over to some notable members of Redacted, and Redacted able to get their own turret in return here anyways.
Good stuff overall for Redacted. They've managed to largely nullify that early gold lead with the kills they've been able to pick up. And now interrupting the Dragon stacking as well. Feels like you've been able to stop the snowball that this Xin Zhao was building up, and that's the name of the game for the first 20 minutes for this Redacted composition. Still do have that second Rift Herald that looks like they're sniffing about using in the top side, but there's 3 members waiting for him, and Show Me could find the engage angle.
Good. No. Maybe a little bit tricky. I know we've been seeing a ton of Alstars at Worlds just go for like the around the world in 80 days sort of flanks to start off team fights. It's a hard angle to work. It's a hard angle to work for sure, but you have to keep a watchful eye out for that. Won't have to worry about it right now though, with everybody just kind of backing right now. Nothing really on the map to grab. No more heralds will be spawning. You got a minute till Baron. Dragon also kind of died there, so you take the chill pill here. Grab some farming lanes here, grab some power spikes, grab some picks if you can. Here's a gank in the top side potentially. 2v2 is what it's shaping up to be. A look at the roam from mid lane as well. High Legacy has that ultimate. Look for that.
Yeah, Hall's jumping in first and foremost here. They're going to try to melt down Martial Arts for Y, but that's a big haymaker to buy the additional space. Teleport in from Mighty Kraus to try to make things unfair, but Illuminous is going to match, and it's going to be a full-on 5-on-5 up here in the top. Flash in from Mr. America, but Halls just drains it right back out with the Gore Drinker. Now Illuminous is going to fall, doesn't have the stasis available, and this is an absolute wipe for ISU Masters. They've picked themselves up 3. They've got the Rift Herald to charge, and they're going to clean up everything they can.
And Redacted just going in there way too early. It's a 3 versus 5 when they engage there. And yeah, they're just going to pay dearly. That's 1 turret, that's 2 turret, that's 3 kills. Could that also be Baron here as well?
Disastrous fight there. Mr. America did not think he would go down that quickly. Martial Arts for Y had already used the haymaker, couldn't tank up too much more. It all goes sideways there. ISU Masters now, they are back up to a 4K gold lead, the largest they've had in the game. They may have stumbled in a couple of fights, but they are back in control.
6-6, now up 4K gold. It's definitely going to be spicy here around this next dragon fight in 2 minutes. And yeah, once again, resetting on the rift, however, everybody just waits till this next dragon or a potential opening to get a pick here before said dragon comes on up. Facebreaker going to miss there. The Hyperprox adding up, slowing down HP.
Svoboda gonna get a big run down now. That's a nice showstopper out, but stunned into the wall as Halls is coming in for the backup. Chuzzy Guns is going to show up and charm them through as well, trying to chase down Martial Arts for Y, who will be able to eke away, but only because Mr. America has shown up and taken the death for him. Another kill picked up by ISU. As they control this bottom side jungle, they might find Illuminous if they're not careful.
Oof. Yeah, Illuminous not having a good one this game. It's been perpetually down in CS. 0-3, does at least have 3 assists to their name, but that is a nice kill here for ISU Masters to pick up. Yes, that Udyr will be back in time for whatever objective you go for here, but it lets you consolidate more control over this third dragon. and put yourself on that soul point here in about 50 seconds time. You see Redacted looking towards this top side if they're trying to make a play on to Mighty Kraus, or they're looking to just set up the Baron here. Would be a little bit risky to go for it. This is only a 1.5 item Sivir. You don't exactly melt through objectives just quite yet.
Not quite yet at all. Mr. America clears out the Blue Sentinel. Going to be able to finally start sharing those buffs, but this next dragon is going to be the name of the game, and there's nobody here on the bottom side for Redacted. Look at all this vision getting laid down by ISU. They're going to know exactly where Redacted are coming from.
They're even setting up a trap here as well. It's just Halls and Chuzzy right now, but you can see the other members sitting in the wings. You already have Spoda in this bot lane, pushing on up into turret. Not stacking up the Meganar, though. They did just transform back into that mini, but goal is all the same. They got control over this Dragon Pit, and it's going to be a long haul to get on in. There's the charge.
Going to try to slow up martial arts for Y, but the other four have managed to make it into the top side of the river. Mighty Kraus on the flank, might get collapsed on, has to book it, but that does mean his team gets the dragon. Now he can look to regroup. All 5 members of Redacted are staying grouped together as one. Are going to start to back away. Wind becomes lightning, lands on a martial arts, and ISU, they want to fight. They throw out Enchanted Crystal Arrow. It does not find a target. They're just going to keep skirmishing back and forth. The pizza comes through. The pizza doesn't do much of anything, and Svoboda is nearly mega, but not going to find the flank angle. I think everybody's just going to disengage here. Go Farino.
Disengage. But you got that soul point here for ISU Masters. Didn't really cost you anything. Just the time it took to set up there. And a little bit of posturing. Icebreaker, get him. Yes, there. And yeah, I mean, ISU Masters definitely sitting in control of this game. Baron's started. Chuzzy should be able to spot this, but with all the members having just backed, we see the teleport coming on out from bot lane Spoda. That Mega Gnar is timing out here. They only have a short duration to actually use that Gnar ultimate before it expires. Never mind, it is out, so you just have the mini Gnar, but you have all hands on deck here. Going on in.
Big flash engage finds Mighty Kraus, who does manage to flash away in time. Show Me just gets melted even through the ultimate, and High Legacy takes a big haymaker, but that's not enough for his whole health bar. The carries still stand. Nobody drops for ISU, and it's a clean ace. Redacted are taken off the map as ISU turns for Baron.
Yep, the health bars were chipped there from Baron. I like the thought process from Redacted. They're able to bait out that teleport. If they're just able to run away and reset there, that would have been big, but instead, it is big here for ISU Masters. Perfect ace. They get the Baron. They're still sitting on soul point, and they already have this massive gold lead. It's not going to get any easier for Redacted.
Definitely not enough items on the Sivir to be able to take the fights like that, I gotta say. Only on one item. Just doesn't end up dishing out the damage. You know, the set, the Udyr, talked about this being a little bit of a lower damage composition. They get good abilities on the High and on the Mighty Kraus, but it's just not enough, and nobody manages to actually take down anyone.
And what a rough position to be in here. You are finally getting 2 items here on your Sivir, though, for Ooga Booga at least, so you are going to have a very nice, consistent source of damage coming on out. Hasn't been working out in team fights, though, because they're just getting popped here on Redacted.
Yeah, losing out pretty fast, pretty often. Now at a substantial gold deficit, as ISU are going to keep playing this one by the books. I mean, props to them. This has been one of the more straightforward, professional-esque matches we've gotten to see in Divine League this split. Kills low, just sitting back, scaling up, knowing that they were going to be pretty ready to be able to take these fights as long as Halls gets them some nice, gentle advantages, and that's exactly what it's been. They've been able to secure objectives. They're not fighting for no reason, but when they do fight, it's largely been intelligent.
Yep. Or they're punishing the over-aggressive fights that Redacted have been starting. And Redacted, they were winning those fights. They were starting for a good little bit there. Now they climb to that 6-3 kill score line lead. But haven't been working out here. Time they go in for fights, they get popped. Looking for another one here, potentially. Mr. America. Just gonna say howdy ho, stranger, while the base is still very much under siege.
focusing in on towards this tower. There's going to be the shockwave back in. Mr. America just going to be the target. Doesn't quite get hit by the enchanted crystal arrow, but here's the quickness across everybody. Chuzzy Guns has to dash back out and will go down to the haymaker, but they have finally broken through the mid lane inhib turret, and the health bars are so low that ISU will be able to grab it with ease. They back on away. They're still 11k in the lead, but they are 4 versus 5, and that's going to be enough to end the siege for now.
Yep. And Redacted. This is the rock and a hard place dilemma they got right now, because it's just so hard for them to try and fight here, but that's what their comp wants to do. I mean, Alistar, Udyr, Set, these aren't champs that sit back and farm, you know, they aren't champs that sit back and poke you. No, they want to go into these fights, they want to get into the thick of things, CC people, damage people, and they just haven't been. I mean, you're realistically not really going to be able to do that here too much. Maybe get one big haymaker onto the back line after you showstopper someone. Oh, fine lands there. This could be a big pick.
Yeah, they are going to focus on the Mighty Kraus here. It's going to be the shockwave out of martial arts for Y. The dive back in from Halls, and martial arts is just taking so much damage. A nice haymaker, but it's not going to be enough to save him. As he does go down, Mighty Kraus picking up that kill. Now it's a 4 versus 5. Binding connects out of Halls, but he's able to get over the wall in time and start up this potential Soul Dragon. Mr. America going to have to find a way to piece together some kind of miracle steal, but he has no way to even get over the wall for right now, and he and the squad are getting marked by Svoboda, pushed further back. Mountain Soul claimed by ISU Masters, and that permanent buff just going to add to their already tremendous lead.
Like, and just march it on down mid here. Got 2 minutes till Baron. This mid lane inhib already down. Pushing wave in top. Bot wave will be pushing here shortly. And yeah, it's just kind of Jover for Redacted in this game right now, because that was the pick you wanted there. You land the bind, you got the full Alistar combo, there's just not enough follow-up in time, and there's the engage.
Double knockup, lands on a Hall and Legacy. Legacy is just booking it for the back line. Mighty Kraus
Big
taking a fair bit of damage
shockwave
as well. There's the showstopper to the back line, but Svoboda has found the carry. Chuzzy still standing there to kite back for the rest of the team. High Legacy refuses to drop. Mighty Kraus protected by Svoboda as well as he picks up a triple. And that's another 5-for-0 ace for ISU. Redacted cannot put it together in time. They are going to lose this game number 1.
Yep, base is falling here, and even though it was kind of even to begin with, those small leads that ISU Masters were accumulating with the objectives, with a few early kills, just eventually snowballed into what seemed undefeatable by Redacted here in the end. So the Nexus does explode in 29 minutes.
Definitely. So we are going to transition to cams here in just a second. And ISU, pretty good showing here, I think, based on the overall results in the league so far. A lot of folks would have predicted Redacted coming into the night. Of course, certainly looking like they are struggling with the substitute mid laner right now.
Yep, that was a struggle and a half there. The Morgana really just not able to do anything to contest the Orianna in lane. Fell behind in CS, he fell behind in plates, he fell behind in kills eventually as well. And yeah, it was even until it wasn't there at the end.
Yeah, that's a real red gold chart right there. And, like we said, I think pretty straightforwardly played out by the side of ISU. They just gently built up that lead over the first 15 to 18-ish minutes. Ended up losing out on a fight and giving up Dragon number 3 in a short moment where a nice little trade was found there by Redacted. But after that, they go right back to the book. They go right back to the game plan.
Yeah.
They're taking objectives. They're taking towers. They're getting plates. They're taking good, smart fights over objectives, and they're winning out for them. And they come out with a pretty easy win there.
And we'll see if they're able to continue that going into next game, or if Redacted are able to bring it on back and adapt going into this next one, because they did keep it even for a while there, even though it felt like they were a step behind, especially in the objectives. So Redacted most certainly not out of this just quite yet.
Yeah, my eyes are going towards Mr. America. We'll talk about it more when we get into the second draft, but Mr. America's been a very flexible player all season long, has played pretty much every style of jungler that you can imagine. And I think he needs to be on one that's going to be more influential in these lanes right now, as clearly just got counterpicked in top lane, was difficult for them to navigate that. They have the substitute mid laner right now, who is also clearly struggling in their matchup. You just need to be able to change those fates. As you're falling behind in CS, you're losing in priority pretty much across the board, and it was just too easy for Halls to be able to take whatever he wanted.
Yep, and we'll see how they come back in next game as we do come back from the break for game number 2. Don't go anywhere because we'll be back in a bit. Although the Risen 2 stream should still be in game. Haven't heard any results from that one just quite yet. So
They just
you
got
can
to
also tune
pause.
into that.
So, yeah,
Oh, okay.
absolutely. Get in
Pause
there,
cam.
check out. Looks like Travelers are a little bit ahead, but the game's not over by any means. We'll be back in a few minutes. Check that out in the meantime. We'll see you guys in a bit.
Most points in team fights egregious. Uh, he didn't even. I don't know if he just got that redemption, but you're going to need a lot more than that to do well for the team. You didn't use your ignite during the team fight. Like, there. And it didn't look like he got a good ultimate off. He utilized his ultimate uh, to save Puffles, but was unable to do anything else with it.
And unfortunately, didn't even keep Puffles alive at the end of things. Puffles, Solbert, and Helper all falling down as we see small hiccup there. Travelers gonna pick up this dragon for pretty much free here. I don't think there's really anything that Solbert can say or do about it at this point.
No, and there's not a lot that can be done. It looks like Stro is just going to secure it there, and then they're with the death timers they have, at least get an inhibitor.
Yeah, an inmate has to burn the Zanya's flash, rocket belt away, does keep him alive. But it's just like you said, inhibitor. That's gonna go down. That's just a reset for the Travelers. Broken the base of Solbert open. Now super minions available on that bot side. It feels like Travelers are just becoming too much of a problem right now.
Yeah, it's their game to lose, but at this point, if I am Solbert, I'm thinking of different ways to go about the draft and see what we can do. I think what really put them behind this game was they went for the Rumble instead of the Oriana, which pairs super well with the Jarvan. I don't really think they're going to contest the Rumble pick, so you could still blind it top with the R4, and this will give and that would give you the same 80 carry counter pick that you wanted, while making sure that the Silas isn't going to be as impactful this game. I don't know. There are a lot of other things that I just don't think are going well.
My Cataclysm comes through, but it's onto Stro, and Stro is a very tanky target. Birdo, not nearly as durable. Solbert can't put out the damage, but Inmate sure is trying. It's a double kill for Puffles now. Where is the Travelers? They're MIA, but Bartco Duck has found a return double. Helper getting cut down, and he cannot survive. It's a triple kill for the ADC, and Zaya slays her lover. Mid inhibitor will fall. That could just be the whole game.
Yeah, I think that's game right there. They have the minions right where they want them. The death timers are too long for them to stop it with the Zaya being alive. And I'm just, like I said, I think that this one boils down to draft dip. They went 2 engages heavy, leaving the Poppy up. There was just so much available and open for the side of Travelers to do everything they wanted to do. And their game plan was definitely a little bit easier to complete. Whereas on the side of Solbert, you just want to pick and fight. But while they did that early, they did not continue that train of thought going into the late game. And
Yeah.
Rumble, tons of damage. Eating through everyone, was just unable to carry the bot lane in this game.
Yeah, it looked very good at the start of things. It was great pressure across the map for Solbert. They just could not really continue that momentum. Like you said, they struggled as the game went on. The scaling came online for the Travelers. And just look at the graph there. I think that just paints the perfect picture. Red all the way through to about the 22, 23 minute mark there.
Yep.
And then it's just a straight incline right back up to the Travelers.
And what's really interesting about that point is normally that is the second item spike, full complete item for most of the champions, and that's where the MR was being built, uh, because there was no AD damage coming out of the side of Solbert. You see Jarvan, who went Gore Drinker Black Cleaver, did a laughable amount of damage. Solbert was unable to survive long enough to output the damage. I think Solbert needs to go back to the Kaisa into this game, and hopefully take away one of these prio picks that the Travelers excelled with. Um, like
I
if
mean,
you want to
which
pick
one?
Rel, if you want to pick Rel Blue One, pick Rel Blue One, but pair it with the Kaisa. Um, it's got so much lane synergy for them. I don't know what side they want to be on, but hopefully they have an answer in switching it up here. By the way, you're already wrong.
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the Risen Divine League, where ISU Masters are moving on to the blue side, up 1-0 over Redakted.
Yep, and a very strategic and dominant game, number one, even though it wasn't like a complete blowout where it's like, okay, yeah, 16 minutes, Mad Lions, airport speed run. It didn't really feel like Redacted really had the leg up in that game, except for those few sparse team fights there. So we'll see what the adaptations are coming into this next draft, especially since ISU Masters have the blue side, which is typically more favored in this meta, just because there are a lot of OP things to pick in that B1 slot.
Right, as we are checking things out here, it looks like there's been a little bit of a swap up here. Asadero is back. He is going to be playing in the top lane, but it looks like Illuminus is still going to be in at mid. So Illuminus staying in the roster, but swapping out their regular mid laner for their regular top laner up in the top lane.
Interesting enough. Is your regular mid laners here if you want to just run your reg mid and your reg top, but it will not be that. So yeah, it's gonna be chilling here. Another normal face, but in a different lane. It's also going to change things in this draft, I feel, because IC Masters, they were kind of banning last time. Like, it was the starter, and then it wasn't the starter. So, we'll see.
For sure. So we'll see. I mean, yeah, Asadero back in now, has the ability to go for something like that Darius, something like that Tryndamere, the picks that we talked about as being a real standout for Redacted, is how they've tended to construct their drafts. We will have to find out exactly what the selection is going to be coming in to this game number 2 as the draft has begun.
Yep, let's see what the gamers here on the Rift want to pick. Redacted, maybe they take away that Shinzao. That seemed to be working out so well for establishing the early game there. Feel like the mid lane thing was potentially a little bit because there's Morgana mid, but also potentially a little bit because of player hands diff there. Definitely felt like a little bit of a gap there, but are getting into bans here. The Maokai taking off the board once again.
Absolutely, and as you guys may have seen during the break, ISU, Travelers rather, up 1-0, much like ISU are. So Travelers trying to make a case for them to be the 4th team in playoffs, to be the team that likely would be facing off against the Death Cards. It is likely going to be whoever wins. There's a lot of determinations yet to be made. They could be 3rd seed, they could be 4th seed. I'm not going to draw any conclusions on that, as both are pretty equally possible. But the Orianna ban going to be the response from Redacted here. ISU keeping to these bans. They keep the Maokai. They add in the Vayne. That's been a big pick for Uga Booga all split long.
Yep, and the Croc taking off the board here once again. It's the Gnar ban already. Definitely was a bit of a counter pick issue there, but the Ashe going to be prioritized here by ISU Masters, just instantly locking that in on that B1 slot. Keep in mind, Redacted last time around locked in the Morgana in that first slot, but the response is going to be the Caitlyn plus potentially Morgana bot lane here, interestingly enough. It's a combo we haven't seen in a while, mostly because both these champions have been a little bit out of the meta, but that's also going into the Ashe, which is considered a neutral matchup against the Caitlyn, because with the volley, you are able to match the range here, auto attack range, only 25 less than that of Caitlyn. And especially once you get in the enchanted crystal arrow, the Caitlyn really hates dealing with that, because if you push up, eat that, and there's a jungler gank, you just die 24/7, feels like, as this champion. The Shinzao, though, has gotten through an ICU Masters, more than happy to lock that in here once again.
And then there's the question, right? Is this even the Caitlyn Morgana bot lane? This team plays Morgana everywhere, if that's the case. Because we've seen it mid lane last game, we've seen it jungle last week. Will it also be added to the support pool for Redakted as that three-way flex? In which case, yeah, it does become a really powerful champion to lock in early on, but I don't know. I don't know if they've necessarily instilled fear of the Morgana mid into the hearts of the Risen Divine League with this one. Let's see if they can do it at support. They certainly were able to do it from jungle up against University Hawaii. Now
Ooh,
going to be that
Rumble.
Darius being hovered as the counter pick to Rumble. ISU got to be happy to get their hands on that high priority Yordle in the top lane. But now,
Yeah.
will it be the Darius the counter pick? It will. It's
Yeah.
locked in. Darrow running his Darius for the 6th time in the Risen Divine League, and he's been winning quite a few games on it.
Yeah, and this is a rough matchup for the Rumble because, you tend to push in with the Flame Spitter, you tend to get in the face of this Darius, and that opens you up to a whole world of punishment. You do at least have the Shins out, gank top and camp top. That is going to be an option here. Maybe the preferable option is going through the second round of bans here. Redacted taking away some powerful supports from the meta here. And it's going to be the Rammus ban, interestingly enough. I know that's been performing well in solo queue recently. And can, of course, when it comes to the 1v1ing with Shin Zhao, Rammus, a great jungler at that because you just get so much armor, you taunt him, and next thing you know, the Shin Zhao kind of died of self-inflicted wounds.
Absolutely here. And now the question is going to be, well, first of all, this is going to give us some insight into where the Morgana's going, at least, you've got to believe. As the Ujir being hovered, will it be locked in again? It will. It's very possible that that's going to be for Mr. America. Morgana still being flexed between mid and support. But Redakted so far going for a little bit more lane dominance in the bottom lane, but going for it in top lane as well.
Expecting this. Actually, Rakan got through if you want to lock that in with the Ashe, although Rakan into Morgana can kind of suck a little because of the Black Shield. Bard being hovered, okay, that's locked in. That's definitely one way of picking off the Caitlyn with that ultimate there. And yeah.
Definitely is the Bard going to be in that bot lane taking on a potential Caitlyn Morgana lane. I mean, that's a very squishy champion to be going up against such an aggressive bot lane. It's also a very roam-centric champion. I don't know if you want to leave Ashe alone with a Caitlyn lane that often. Definitely some questions there. The Akali lock-in will solidify that this Morgana is going to support. Will also solidify that this Ujir is going to jungle. And yeah, the Akali into Victor going to be the matchup in the mid lane. Matchup that Redakted's substitute mid laner struggled in game number 1. Illuminous playing the Morgana had a lot of difficulty with the Orianna coming in from Mighty Kraus. Now going to be playing the Akali into the Victor. Had their choice of this matchup, deciding that they think they can take him on in the one-on-one.
Yeah. Very aggressive pick here. I know we have been seeing the Kali into Orianna. But the thing is, even though Victor also kind of like a control-ish battle mage like that Orianna, if you land that Shuriken and decide to go in on that, that's a very easy just gravity well put underneath you by this Victor in the mid lane. And then next thing you know, you are stunned or you have to burn the first charge of that perfect execution to get out of that stun radius. So it is much harder in this matchup for the Akali. I'm wondering if they're able to just sustain through the lane and wave clear enough and then look to make plays here, because you most certainly are going to have a rough time early on.
For sure. And going to probably be sacrificing a lot of mid lane priority here once again for Redakted. That is perfectly fine in a vacuum, but really curious to see how they're going to be able to make this Udyr function this time around. As yeah, that Darius, that Caitlyn Morgana, they're going to want to play aggressively, but it was really all about hauls on the Xin Zhao in the early game for game number 1. He was able to make a lot of good things happen for the side of ISU Masters, and Redakted, they're just going to need to have an answer to him coming into this game in number 2, as they've given him the same pick. They get to play this kind of similar pick-focused strategy. It's based around the Ashe, but the follow-up is there, the control mage, the heavy damage top laner. It all comes together. Maybe some different matchups for Redakted in the laning phase, but all in all, the game plan feels very similar.
Definitely similar here for both sides, it feels like, even though, like you said, many new faces on the Rift. This Redacted composition can definitely fail pretty hard here, though. If you start losing these lanes, like it's kind of hard for your team here because you do kind of want to establish dominance as the Caitlyn Morgana, as the Darius, to having a lot of influence in this game to get a snowball going. Because otherwise, those champions tend to be in rough positions when put a little on the back foot or even on the even foot.
Absolutely the case here. We are going to get into the in-client draft. I think this time around we could be pretty confident about where a lot of these champions are going. Question is how confident we could be in the matchups. I mean, the Darius is the counterpick for the Rumble. How do you feel about that top lane matchup here, Goferino? It feels like the Rumble is going to be at a disadvantage early on, but the team fight value that you bring with the Equalizer, I mean, that's part of why this champion's so heavily prioritized.
Yeah, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this laning phase here. Or about it, like it is going to suck a lot. You are a melee top laner into the Darius, and you're also a melee top laner that doesn't have enough mobility to get away from said Darius, or even really wave clear from a distance. So you're in terms of the 1v1, you are not going to get to play League of Legends this game. But like you said, in the team fights, that is where the Rumble really starts to shine. So if Hull's able to make some visits to this top lane, get some ganks in, make sure that Asterius put on the back foot, not really threatening this Rumble, then things do go a lot more swimmingly for you and give you that much smoother bridge to just have that Rumble that just annihilates everyone with a single equalizer.
Yeah, and has Halls for the backup, of course, who is going to be looking to take control of these rivers early on. Going to see if they can stack up those dragons. Now, that's where things might get a little bit more difficult, because last game around, Halls had the priority in bot lane all day long. It was a constant push in from that Ashra Khan. Now, it might not be so easy, because you're up against Caitlyn Morgana. The Caitlyn, of course, specializing in that constant wave shoving kind of style here. How does Halls adapt to that, and what do they look to do in this early game? What are their goals, knowing that they're facing off against that super early game bot lane deal?
Could look to just turbo gank bot if you really want to. The Black Shield only covers one person in this bot lane, and you have the setup here, so you can just look to do that over and over. Every time they extend past the river, you just visit bot, howdy host strangers, and then you pick up a kill and look to transition that into something else, or just go on your merry day and feel happy that Ooga Booga has been set on the back foot as Caitlyn, not able to get any plates. So, yeah.
For sure. Rounding out the in-client picks and bans, they're taking a little bit of time to think about the choices that they've already made. So they do finally get the rest of them on through. I'm looking to see how exactly they're going to be able to make anything happen. And I want to I want to focus on this Bard a little bit more, just because we don't get to see too much of our good friend. He often wants to roam around the map, get out, get some chimes, make some plays around the rest of the map. But do you feel comfortable leaving High Legacy alone in the 1 versus 2, or even the 1 versus 1 with the Caitlyn, given how much power that she brings to that early game?
In the 1 versus 1, yes, that's like pretty fine unless Ooga Booga has snowballed here. Big question is the what Caitlyn build we see here, because if it is the full lethality Caitlyn build, then High Legacy, if you are stuck 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 1, then it's like you just walk into the lane. There is a ace in the hole that hits you, chunks you for half your health, and you're like, all right, I guess I just got it back right now, and back you have to do that. So Chezzy, I'm hoping for High's sake they are at least hovering around bot when they do go for those roams.
Absolutely here. Ticking on down, going to have our last little bit of spec delay here is have to see.
That first bit.
Well, you know, all of the draft is really just spec delay when you think about it, especially when you've already settled all of your picks and bans in the draft law. Overall win conditions feels like it could be a very powerful early game setup coming through from the side of Redacted, but early game was a tough portion for them last time around, and this Zinja is really what held it down. Feels like Halls has the power to potentially shut a lot of that down if he can play this early game as well as he played the previous.
Yeah. And might be a different story this game since they don't have as dominant of lanes here. You know, they were able to get counterpick in that top lane, which came out so clutch. And don't have that this time around. In fact, both solo lanes getting counterpicked here, or at least getting or at least Redacted solo laners able to get the response picks that they do want going into these champions.
Yeah, we've got the phase rush selection by the Rumble as well. I like that to try to get out of the Darius matchup, right? You got to be able to buy yourself some space as that melee into the Darius, like you talked about, Goferino. And I think that's a really good way to be able to make that happen is just get a couple of procs on off and you're able to actually book it away with your scrap shield if you can't actually manage to come out on top of those Darius trades.
Yeah. Yeah. Why interact with the Darius when he can just run away? The classic strategy. And yeah. New rune choice this time though for the Udyr. I believe it was lethal tempo last game. So going for the rest of the attacker. Maybe it's a slightly different build coming around. Who knows? Got some variety at least.
Absolutely here is moving on towards the mid lane, going to be the Airy for the Victor. Nothing too unusual there. It is interesting that they actually got their hands on the Victor here for the side of ISU. It's been banned out a whole lot against Mighty Kraus. He hasn't gotten his hands on it too often. Has more often been focusing in towards that Ahri and towards that Orianna. But now, this time around, the Orianna is the source of the ban, and they actually get to bust out their Victor. Been an interesting pick for sure in this league for ISU Masters in particular, given that so few teams are willing to let them have it.
Yeah, to let that get through, but they did also spend the ban on the Orianna in first phase. They could have targeted in the second phase if they wanted to, since it was the Rel and Renata Glass commands coming out. But since they do have the R5 counter here, and they have that Akali, willing to let that on through here. We'll see if it bites Redacted in the butt.
We will. And it is going to be the fleet work for the Caitlyn, so all in on that early laning phase, on that chase down power. Maybe even going to potentially be that lethality Caitlyn build that some folks are more willing to go for these days. I would think it's probably going to be a more traditional one, but you always got to keep those sorts of things in mind, especially when you're up against kind of a relatively squishy comp, right, with the Rumble in the top lane.
Yeah. The thing is, though, with the lethality Caitlyn build, you basically always go the first strike. Sometimes you see the Dark Harvest, but basically first strike does so much damage, and if you're snowballing, it just helps you snowball even harder because of the extra gold you earn. And yeah.
We'll have to see if that's what ends up making the difference. I do hear rift noises in the background, so we'll hopefully be getting in here in just a couple quick seconds. The only other thing I'd call out is that neither of these top laners have teleport. Very interesting for Svoboda in particular that he has opted for this Ignite in the top lane matchup, given how much threat he's under from the Darius.
Yeah, I know we have been seeing a more and more like Rumble Ignite in the top lane, just so you can establish that dominance, which is kind of weird because, you know, Rumble, so many people associate the TP flanks with him. You just get the TP, you drop the equalizer, you win the team fight, bada bing, bada boom.
30 seconds until minions
Yeah,
spawn.
for sure. Reminder, ISU were able to take game number 1. Are now 1 win away from being able to close it out. The scoreboard is backwards. Is ISU on the blue side, Redacted on the red for this game number 2, and ISU hoping for a win to stamp themselves a ticket to 2nd seed in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Minions
And
have
Redacted,
spawned.
of course, fighting for their top bracket lives right here. Still guaranteed playoffs, though, no matter the result. Just a difference of, are you in that top 2 or the bottom 2?
All right. ISU going to be getting out a pretty safe early game. They are going to be able to land some of those harpoons onto Asadero to get them the start that they were looking for. As Mr. America going to start off the blue buff for his side. Both junglers going to be pathing up towards the top in this early game. Both going to try to influence this top lane. Makes a lot of sense when you think about it, as Svoboda and Asadero both on these really influential carry champions. Asadero going to want to snowball that matchup as effectively as he can. And Svoboda, if he can take a lead over the Darius, he'll take that all day, every day. And definitely has the capabilities of doing so. It's not like one of those tank matchups where even if you get a kill or two, you're going to be disadvantaged the whole way through, as the Darius is just always going to have more trade power. You can get ahead on that Rumble matchup and find ways to be able to deal some damage to that Darius. Both junglers now making their way up towards the top side. It was a buff-to-buff clear
Mhm.
for Halls, so
Ooh.
they were able to secure themselves both of their buffs and maybe looking to pay a visit a little bit earlier than what Mr. America can put together.
Yeah, this would be a very fast route. If you are just looking for the immediate gank top lane, you see we have Asadero definitely pushing up here, losing some health thanks to that Flame Spitter. The Darius might be just looking to back here right now, is dropping a ward in that river. So he's getting close to that time here when junglers are usually towards top side if you know they started bot. Bind does land here.
Good damage on the high legacy there found by Ugabuga, but a nice binding there found by the Bard as well. Chelsea Guns going to get a little bit of damage back on the other side. Meanwhile, Halls is just waiting in this top side. He's emerged now, looking for a play onto Asadero. Asadero taking quite a bit of damage here as Mr. America is coming in for the response. Flash away from Asadero as the fight breaking out in the bottom lane as well. First blood is picked up for Ugabuga, and now it's going to be Mr. America and Asadero pushed away on the top side.
Blood all over the rift here indeed, and just an instant. Caddy not able to capture both of those bind lanes here. This is an easy kill. Yep, that is why the Gate Morgue is so deadly. The trap lands, then you land the bind. You land the bind, then the trap lands, and you just eat the full combo there. This Caitlyn 2-0, that is extremely scary. Are they looking for this dive? It is extremely sussy to put it in.
Especially the stacked up passive for Udyr just makes it so tough, right? He's going to be able to do a variety of different things, all of them bad for you. Is a nice pick in the mid lane. Show me. Roams up, finds a dark binding, and that's an easy cleanup for Illuminous. And just like that, multiple kills across the map. Redakted off to a solid early lead, while Halls has been wasting his time. Chelsea now going to try to get something back, but this is a simple walk backwards angle. There's nothing that ISU can do to make something happen in mid.
Yeah, because Chelsea had already used there. Missed that, still on cooldown, so it's gonna be walking away an easy 3-0 lead here for Redakted in this early game, coming back roaring, not letting the enemy team dictate the early tempo, instead just getting a bunch of kills and saying, all right, now we get to dictate the tempo.
Really good stuff from Redakted here, showing a little bit more of how they were able to get to 5-1 in the first place. And Illuminous going to feel really good about being able to pick up the first kill in this lane, get themselves a gold lead for the first time this series. They had such a tough time in that matchup in game number 1. Svoboda showing off the phase rush tech there, though. Gets a good trade onto Asadero. Asadero can't really do anything to reply. He's going to be able to pick up this wave with ease.
But Asadero also able to just take an easy back themselves here. Weathered that early gank, and Luminous going on in level 5 to level 4. Also has the Hextech Alternator, giving that a little bit of extra juice in that burst combo there. Not enough to threat anything meaningfully, but both these teams posturing around this first dragon, clearing out some vision, grabbing the scuttle. Right now, Redakted has control over that river with the ward and with the scuttle.
Yeah, the important thing there is that neither is level 6. No perfect execution for the Akali. Means that not really going to have kill pressure on anybody at full HP quite yet. A pretty sizable CS lead being built up by Mighty Kraus yet again. Again, just kind of the nature of the matchup a little bit. Melee Akali in the early game up against these control mages going to be struggling to secure all of the farm, but that kill going to do a lot to even the odds. Asadero stepping forward as Mr. America comes in with the flash. There's going to be the equalizer thrown on down, but not long for this world is Svoboda, as he will drop, and Halls shows up just a little bit too late. Will they be able to make something happen here? Mr. America taking a bunch of damage to the Conqueror procs, and Wind becomes lightning, dishes out a whole boatload of damage. One more charge, one more shield, can't get the last auto, and Mr. America will escape with his life.
Just barely. Oh, there's the... I get result to kill him this time, but easy kill pickup in that top lane. Despite all that, we see the CS lead for Svoboda. So the solo laners of ISU Masters still coming out on top in the farm department, even though it is a 4-kill deficit. Goes pop tier, the apprehend does land.
Yeah, the level 6 tick for Asadero makes all the difference there. Gets it off of the minion dying to the turret, and suddenly the matchup for Halls is turned all around. And just like that, it's 5-0 for Redakted. Halls held to nothing in this early game, just desperately trying to defend Svoboda up there, but it's gone wrong every single time.
And, I mean, they're really close there. Both Asadero and Mr. America extremely low off the end of that gank. Like, if Halls just lands one more, winds become lightning there into the Audacious Charge. I'll hold that thought. Magical Journey lets me unhold that thought. Just one more ability landing there from Halls secures at least one of the kills there. But the wind becomes lightning, not coming back up in time to help secure that. And now it's a 101. Darius has the Mark Treads to help stomach a lot of this damage coming on out. But also just the early tier 2 boots versus no boots at all on Svoboda means that phase rush is going to have to work overtime here for outrunning this Darius.
Definitely. Torching away here is Svoboda's CS leads. Pretty solid for the solo lanes, but the kills, one kill on each member of ISU is going to net Redakted a solid gold lead. Ooga Booga especially on this Caitlyn, definitely hyped that they've been able to get that early gold. Especially because they've done a good job of responding to the push on High Legacy and Chuzzy Guns' side. They've only lost one turret plate so far. Going to be a little bit more time for Redakted to be able to clean those up, but given that they have died once already, only one turret plate is not bad at all. As Halls is looking for a little invade on this bottom side. I think Mr. America's aware of it. Will they be able to contest? Chuzzy Guns throws out the Cosmic Binding, now going to have to try to escape. He doesn't get any distance away from the Magical Journey, and that means he's going to be going down here before too long. Illuminous now finding the perfect execution onto Halls, who's still just level 5, has nowhere to go. Illuminous cleans up a second, and that's 2 more over to Redakted.
Ooh, now it's an 0-2 Shen Zhao. Easy pickup on the Dragon as well, coming off the back of it. The one silver lining is Mighty Krau's able to get a lot done in that mid lane here, further their CS lead, so it's not completely negative gaming. However, giving over this early Dragon, giving over those 2 kills, I mean, it's a 3-0-1 Caitlyn, a 2-0 Akali. That's pretty scary, as the sport's just duking it out here.
Great stuff so far from Redakted, bouncing back nicely in this game number 2. They get their starting top laner back, and looking like a whole different team is Illuminous, looking for the angle onto Mighty Kraus. Going to take a fair bit of damage. They melt right through that black shield, but is going to be able to escape. As Ooga Booga and High Legacy, they're fighting it out here. High Legacy feels like Ranger's focus is going to be enough to win them the trade. Now Hall's starting up this Rift Herald.
The Caitlyn, even with a lead, you don't really win those extended trades against Ashe when that Ranger's focus is popped. You're looking to get the combo down. Do you have a headshot? Do you land the trap? Do you land the Pilt over Peacemaker? Those popped here. You got to watch out for the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. That's back up in about 10 seconds. These health bars dropping low. Flash on out. The ace in the hole available in a second. And that here is the transition finally.
Mr. America looking to chase down Chuzzy Guns here. He's just going to take him in circles with that Magical Journey, trying to hold on to the flash for as long as they can. Here comes Ace in the hole. And that'll take them down to low half of what they had before, just a couple hundred HP. Chuzzy Guns will successfully get out, has to expend the flash, though.
Definitely comical series of events there, but do get out the ace in the hole, at least for your flash, I guess, and waste some time. Mid lane gang being set up here by Xiaomi off this roam. The Mighty Kraus just back in here off this wave. They got gold in their pocket. Looking to finish off the Leandries here, and able to do that here. So great pickup here. First mythic of the game completed. Not the first item though, because there's that Storm Razor already.
Yep. Now Mighty Kraus coming back to lane, and that CS lead is kind of all that ISU have going for them in what has been a very rough early game. They've been falling behind in a lot of lanes, either due to kills or just more generally. Plates getting hammered away at by Ooga Booga as well. Not been able to come ahead in the jungle matchup either. Asadero trying to make a play, but once again, it's a 2 versus 2 in top lane. This is not favored ISU all game, but this time Asadero drops first, and they've got Chuzzy Guns for backup as well. ISU take a 2 for 0 on the top side, changed around their fate.
2 for 0 and High Legacy, funnily enough, able to secure an assist there because the Hawkshot did spot out Mr. America. So that's going to net them a bit of extra gold here, and they're going to need it because they are taking the wall up in this bot lane, having to do the 1v2. But with that Rift Herald pop in top lane, looks like ISU Master is going to be able to get this first turret. Enchanted Crystal Arrow does land under turret. Just wait any more of this.
Good stuff there. Guarantees them quite a bit of damage onto Show Me and makes this Morgana a little bit more vulnerable to these follow-up volleys. As Chuzzy Guns is looking for the bailout here, that's going to be the throwdown of the Black Shield, and that's going to be huge for Chuzzy Guns to be able to land Cosmic Binding out of 2, but Ooga Booga, he's just got too much damage. Chuzzy's going to be able to take down Show Me, but Ooga Booga looking to close them both out and will do so. A double kill to this Caitlyn in the bottom lane, and now she can just keep on hammering away at the turret.
Yep. Won't be able to get another plate here. That one's still too healthy, but you will take that here. 2-4-1, and your 80 carry stays alive. Mid lane play potentially happening? No. But 3-9 is the scoreline in kills. Granted, with the CS differentials here, especially in the solo lane. The mid lane, keeping things much more even. We'll see if ISU Masters are able to keep things close here, or if that barrel's over, because that's a lot of damage.
Great damage there out of Mighty Kraus, but now getting collapsed on by multiple members. Good block on the ace in the hole from Chuzzy Guns. Will keep Mighty Kraus's health high enough that they do manage to back away. 3-9, it looks terrible on the scoreboard, but it's really only manifested as about a 1.5k gold lead for Redakted. Plus that Dragon, they're going to be looking to get Dragon at number 2 to maybe solidify that a little bit further.
Yeah, second Dragon here would be nice. Ooh, that bind just barely missing there. If that lands, that's a lot of damage at the very least. Because Mighty Crow, no flash, no ultimate. And just some aggressive posturing here to set up for this next Dragon. ISU Masters pushing in deep here. Got 2 members in the blue side jungle, just trying to clear out vision, trying to drop some vision. Keep this mid lane pushed on up.
Absolutely. 3 members grouped up now in this bottom river. ISU are the first ones to the play. They want to be able to secure themselves a dragon. They want to interrupt the stacking that Redakted have brought to the table. They feel strong. They got level 11 on this Victor. Got access to not quite the Chaos Storm yet, but upgrades and the ability to keep waves cleared on out. They feel like that's going to be enough. They're calling down their Rumble as well. Luminous going to get forced into the Shroud in a 1 versus 2 situation.
Gonna be able to secure themselves their first dragon here. It is going to be the Cloud. My favorite one. I love it.
They are almost certainly donating first turret blood to Asadero here in trade for that dragon, as he should be able to get it without too much trouble. We'll see Svoboda coming up, planning on equalizing the wave, but it's going to be a 1 versus 2. There's the Flash Apprehend. Asadero reads the play beautifully. Flashback over the wall by Svoboda as he's going to try to clear this out. There's 2 more members coming up to bail him out. Show Me going to be here as well. He buys the space. Here comes the tank from Mr. America. Teleport in onto the minion wave. Asadero taking a bunch of damage now for the phase rush. It's Mighty Kraus. Blows them up with the Chaos Storm. A double kill to the Victor. Halls collapses onto Show Me and gets another one over to Svoboda. And Redakted, they thought they had the read, but they're getting next leveled by ISU. As ISU is going to clean one up in mid as well. Just like that. 4 members off the map.
Huge shutdown picked up there, and Redakted, that was a Pepega dive there in the top lane, like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You didn't have the wave there. This Darius for Asadero didn't have the ultimate because he already committed it, very low on mana, and you're just running in. You see that teleport, like, you just need to book it out of there. Like, you know, some for some. Get the teleport. All right, that's fine. But you're going to see so much control on this map here. Going to donate over 2 turrets, going to donate over that huge shutdown, and just like that, the gold certainly equalized once we see the platings drop. There we go. Actually, no. ISU Master is going to be ahead.
Yeah, and if you're Redakted, you have no idea what just hit you, right? I mean, it looked like you were going to be able to get first turret traded for a random Clouds Dragon, which is a great trade that you'll take all day, every day. Looked like you were going to be able to get even more, punishing Svoboda for trying to come up and prevent that outcome, but it just all goes sideways. There's so many more members available for Redakted. You can't kill Svoboda fast enough, and Mighty Kraus just blows them both up with all of this economy he's been building up all game long. Now, as I say that, he's going to have to go to the stasis to stay alive, but does manage to dodge the circuit flip. That means he's in a one-on-one with Mr. America. Mr. America has enough damage with the Phoenix stance to be able to eventually take him down. That'll be some good shutdown gold in the pocket of the Ood here.
Traded for the Rift Herald, though, in the top side. That Herald can do a lot more damage here. Gonna be potent to have that as well with the next dragon coming up in 2.5 minutes here. Give you that extra member to split push, or you can just drop it beforehand if you happen to get a good pick to just blow open some turrets. Either way, though, very potent piece to have on this ISU Master chessboard.
Absolutely. Grouping up now on the top side of the map. The Rift Herald's already gone. Turrets are gone as well. There's just not much for them here. Mr. America gonna look to beat up on the inner a little bit, but again, too hard to do at this point in the game. Victor's gonna show back up. He's gonna wave clear it out. It's gonna all be good, and we've got quite a bit of time before there's another objective to fight over. Just a little bit of vision thrown down around the map. Check out the gold here. Is big lead for Svoboda. Big lead for Mighty Kraus. Those are the main points to play through for ISU.
Yep. And like you mentioned, nothing too much to fight over right now, just mostly control. Mostly just looking for picks here. If someone gets caught out here, gonna be what happens for the most part. I don't think we're gonna see any random 5v5 team fights here. It'll be exciting though.
Yep. Buys time for Chelsea to wander around, pick up some relics, get himself upgrades to the meeps. Never want to be losing out on those potential upgrades as needs to recall, continues to wander the map, and has done a pretty good job of being able to reply to plays over the last couple of minutes. You want to be able to have that freedom, getting funneled into just your side of the map as Xin Zhao and Bard as a combo. Just feels real bad. Feels like there's a lot of plays you could be making that you lose access to. Now that they're back in the lead, they can look for stuff like this onto Illuminus, who's going to try to escape off the perfect execution. Will be able to get out with the second cast, but kind of forced out of this bot lane now as Hall sees an opportunity to take the last outer.
Mm-hmm. Good timing on that as well, getting the ultimate out right before this dragon comes up. Xiaomi's got to be careful here. The wind become lightning does not land. But Vision pushed on up into Redakted's jungle. At least they do still have the scuttle there in the river that's gonna just form. Oh, that lands? Okay, this is
yeah, really cute cosmic binding found there by Chuzzy Guns. Leads into an enchanted crystal arrow, leads into a kill. And Asadero just gonna get pushed out of this top lane. Mighty Kraus is the side lane king for right now. He can keep his distance away from all of these melees and clear waves out easily with the laser. This is gonna be a dragon going over to ISU. And not much for Redakted to be able to do about it.
Yep, Redakted trying to get pressure on turrets there, and does get some damage in on that mid lane outer, but a little bit of mid lane outer turret damage is not worth giving up your support. And a dragon does the flash over the wall. This could be big.
Yeah, gonna have to try to focus down Asadero in time, but just can't get over there. And just a little bit of greed there from Mighty Kraus. Leaves the top lane, tries to wander over to mid when he's not really needed there, and in his attempt to path back up to top, he gets collapsed on by the trap set by Mr. America. Good play there by Redakted to be able to clean that one up and keep themselves competitive. They take down the primary threat from ISU and now have some room to play with around the map.
Mm-hmm. Yep, good pick up there. Not able to get anything else off the back of that, but a pick is a pick nonetheless here. It does cost a lot of summoners, though. It costs both your top side's flashes, and Asadero had to use their Ghost in on that one. Thankfully, Ghost, very short cooldown for a summoner spell, so will be up soon enough. Already like a rough cooldown here. Very costly, though. We'll see if that bites them in the butt here, because this Udyr right now is the primary form of engage for Redakted if they're going in for team fights, because who else is really going to lead the charge here aside from landing a bot?
Yep, that's the question. Xiaomi done a good job of being able to find the bindings so far, but it's going to be much harder in a even ground 5-on-5 showdown scenario, especially around the Baron, as it's the only objective that's really available at this time. Chuzzy going over the wall, thinks he sees Illuminus. Cosmic Binding connects. Illuminus again going to have to use the perfect execution defensively. Nice dodge out there on that Tempered Fate. Chuzzy Gun's going to be able to force out more and more away from Illuminus, who's just not going to have that individual power. High Legacy have to flash, though.
Collapse coming in from top side here, so Xiaomi and Ooga Booga have to be very careful, sticking towards their bot side, thankfully for them. If Mr. America shows bot here, they can just start Baron, like... Yeah, okay. Mr. America's walking back up.
Right, still very close here. Anybody's game on how some of these upcoming fights play out. Only about a 1k advantage for ISU as they're fighting for control around the top side of the map. The Baron, primary objective. Mr. America clearing out a bit. On the other side is Svoboda coming on in. Could have gone for something a little aggressive with Peacemaker, or with the Equalizer, rather. Is pushed back away. High Legacy going to get stunned. But Mr. America has to back away in response to the teleport, and it's like nothing's going to come out of it. High Legacy expends the Ghost. Svoboda expends the Flash. Not much else to be found.
Yep. You actually get 2 flashes out there, because High, I believe, had to flash. This Baron is just getting started up. Asadero does not have teleport, won't be able to join this. There's a fatty laser. There's a fatty Chaos Storm and the Enchanted Crystal. Oh my, that is disgusting. But Baron has reset and no one's died despite a really nutty engage from ISU Masters. Just help everyone.
Interesting choice from Mighty Kraus to focus all his damage onto Show Me there, and then the follow-up damage from the Equalizer lands onto the other two, so nobody quite going to go down. They're just going to start up the Baron again, as this whole time Asadero is threatening an inhibitor turret. He's going to take it. They need to win this fight, and they need to come away with the Baron for this to be worth it. Here comes the potential steal. Nobody going to be able to get over to it. The Dragon goes down, but they are going to be able to turn around the follow-up fight. Illuminous and Mr. America are the first ones to drop, and the fight lines are set up very effectively for ISU. Ooga Booga going to drop here as well before too long. He's got the black shield to keep him safe, but Halls is about to find him with the wind becomes lightning. Asadero takes the bottom lane inhibitor, but the gold is going to be in favor of ISU. They find 4 kills in the Baron.
And Ooga Booga unable to take the blast cone out there because of the black shield. Funnily enough, that's why they had to delay that. And Redacted, they get the bot lane in him, but they're only able to take down 1 enemy member in the ensuing fight there. And now they are going to have to weather the storm. ISU Masters going to be very easily able to keep some member parked here in this bot lane, shove it on up into those supers. The Baroned up minions will kind of counteract those supers to a degree. And yeah, ISU just looking to take control here.
Great stuff by ISU. They once again find themselves that Baron buff. Asadero on the split push, though, has created a vulnerability in the armor. There's an opportunity to really be able to threaten the base now with that bot lane inhibitor down, and ISU going to have to pay special attention to keep that wave pushed out.
The siege continues here. Asadero just doing the solo queue thing and continuously split pushing in top side here. No one really wanted to deal with the Darius except for Mighty Kraus, who's able to just clear from a range. This trap being set up. Look for the bind. It does land.
Here comes Enchanted Crystal Arrow. They're able to keep Illuminous held down. Very low on HP now as Mighty Kraus finds himself in a one-on-one with Asadero, trying to kite it out. Gonna get slowed down here before too long. Throws down the Chaos Storm, but he is losing this one-on-one. Goes into stasis. Asadero has to head for the hills, trusting that the burn damage will be enough. And Asadero takes down Mighty Kraus with the one-on-one, now threatening the top lane inhibitor. This Dragon's gonna drop before too long, but ISU, they've got to get back and deal with the problems.
Yep, teleport also coming out from Illuminous, acting as a bit of a stopgap here. Has to be very careful, though. This is a 4 versus 3. We already see Svoboda back in that top lane to defend that, but going back on in.
Look at Illuminous, finds his way into a one-on-one with High Legacy, connects with the Shuriken flip, takes him down with a perfect execution, and there's going to be the Tempered Fate to slow down everybody, but they get out and they largely immune that Equalizer thanks to its Svoboda. Got to tank an ace in the hole to guarantee Halls a way out, but ISU, they lose the fight on 2 fronts, and they are losing out on so much because of it.
Yep, there goes most of their Baron pressure there. They trade Soul Point here for nearly losing another inhibitor. They lose multiple members there. They lose the mid lane outer, the top lane inner, nearly much more. At least Hall's able to get back that blue buff.
Yep. Good steal away by Halls. Yeah, somehow Asadero doesn't end up taking that top side inhibitor turret. So not going to end up getting 2 different inhibitors pushed in on, but solo kill on a Kraus, very valuable. And Yeah, the Nanbo there between Shuzzy and Svoboda, it's just a disaster for ISU as Redakted win out the fight. Illuminous getting incredibly strong now with 5 kills despite the CS deficit. Ooga Booga and Illuminous, they just bring the damage and are able to win out the fight.
See if they're able to continue this, because there have been some pretty dicey moments for Redacted this game. You know, there's a reason why they were having to face down that Baron shove there. Thankfully for them, they were able to weather it on out. 2 minutes till the next Baron here. 3 minutes till the next Dragon, potentially the final one before Elder of this game, since ISU Masters did manage to claw up to Soul Point here. But once again, for what feels like the upteenth time, we're going to fall to a bit of a lull state here on the map, unless we see a pick set up here, which is exactly what is happening if Svoboda overextends.
Yeah, the one thing that ISU do get as a result of that whole play is that they are now on Soul Point. So this next Dragon could be Infernal Soul, which would be absolutely massive for this team composition. They can land volleys, land lasers, and be able to just pump out so much damage at pretty sizable range. Only the Caitlyn really capable of matching that, and Caitlyn at very much risk stepping up super far, just getting tagged by a volley or something and going on down.
Gonna be a hard one to deal with here. Minute till Baron now. So players and gamers definitely on the edge of their seats here. It is coming down to the wire when all is said and done. The visible gold lead, only about a few hundred separating these two teams. It's basically nothing in this context right now.
Yep, definitely a bit of a dead ball state. Could be very easily going over to her
Ooh,
team.
that
But
lands.
somehow a stun was found on Ooga Booga. That must have been Enchanted Crystal Arrow is across the map. Here comes that red carpet.
Oh, that TP
Svoboda
flank
is gonna
huge.
melt them down. Burns the side of Redacted to a crisp. And ISU come out with a 3-for-0 fight. Asadero still pushing on the bottom, but as long as Mighty Kraus can get back in time to deal with it, this has been a huge win for ISU, and they might even be able to turn it into Baron.
Disgusting fight there from ISU. They're able to get that Enchanted Crystal Arrow at first, and then it's that huge TP flank coming out from Mighty Kraus to just hit the entire backline with that Death Beam. Yodi there. That should secure them control over this Baron. What are you still doing here, Illuminous?
Yeah, Luminous just hangs around too long, doesn't teleport, doesn't recall, and will drop 2 halls. A big shutdown going over to that Xin Zhao. And if there wasn't time to start Baron before, there definitely is now, as there's going to be no threat of Illuminous, and Mr. America will never get here in time. ISU secure themselves the Baron.
Yep, less than a minute till that next Dragon as well. Asadero taking some time here. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands. They are lined up with the wall, so this stun will land. Nope, they move out in time. They are going to have to give their life here. Won't be able to return anything back. That inhibitor consolation prize here, because now they're down the Baron. They're down gamers on the map, and they're going to be down Soul here unless we see Mr. America get in there with a Miracle Steal.
Yeah, Asadero not going to be present for this Dragon Soul fight. That's the biggest loss. He doesn't have the teleport either. It's going to be so long before he's able to join on this bottom side of the map. ISU 5 versus 4 going to look to claim themselves the Soul. Mr. America, like you said, going to need some kind of miracle. He's found himself a flank angle hiding in this tri-brush.
Ooh.
Will an opportunity present itself? Show Me has to use the Black Shield on themselves. That's a bigger loss than I might first look. You definitely want to give that over to the Udyr, but Mighty Kraus might be caught. Show Me, though, gets one shot by the Victor damage. A flash in from Mighty Kraus. He's looking to just burn through the bot lane if he can't get out alive. Ooga Booga going to be incredibly low on HP as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes through and connects on Mr. America, and the follow-up damage from ISU is more than enough. They've secured themselves the Dragon Soul. They've secured themselves 2 kills, and they're going to start marching into the base with the Baron buff.
And this is such a fatty wave here. They got double cannons, enough casters to fill up 3 whole entire Risen rosters. I was trying to make a joke about us being casters here, but never mind that. They're just looking to end. That's the inhib dropping here, and they are looking to just carry it on home. 25 seconds till Mr. America is back up. Show Me will be back up for this, but it's a 5 versus 4. You have the advantage here. Huge wave. You're just shredding through with this Infernal Soul.
Yeah, something needs to happen miraculously from Illuminous on the Akali, but pushed back away once again. Ooga Booga managed to land some good damage onto High Legacy. That's the biggest damage dealer to these towers, is that damage from Show Me. is just bananas. Show Me gets one shot. Ooga Booga going to go down next, but manages to get it back to the fountain just in time. Avoids the red parchment as well to keep on throwing out these shots, and the damage might just be enough for Redakted to defend their base. The whole rest of the ISU squad are taken down. Chuzzy Guns gets hit by the ace of the hole and is getting chased down by Mr. America. Will be able to clear over the wall in time. Is slippery enough on the Bard, but Redakted, they manage to hold their ground and keep their Nexus alive.
Yep, they hold the ground, they hold the line here, but at what cost? Because that's an open Nexus, that bot lane inhibitor is down. You're still facing down the barrel of triple Infernal Dragon and that Infernal Soul. Watch this damage. Mamma mia.
Mamma mia indeed. ISU now firmly in the lead, about 6K ahead, looking for that second seed in playoffs, looking for an easier matchup, be able to work their way through that bracket. Putting up a very good showing over Redakted here for why they deserve it. Crucially avoiding the death cards, but I think everybody's hoping to, right? They've come out as the most dominant team in this Risen Divine regular season. Looks like ISU is going to be the ones to do it, unless Redakted can stage some kind of miraculous comeback and then win another game after it.
Yeah. I mean, they are still holding on here. If you're able to get on top of the back line here, pop this Victor, pop this Ashe, you definitely can make the fights work here, but getting on top of the back line as this comp is just so hard here for Redakted, because the way you get on top of the back line is your jungler and top laner run at them really fast. That really does not cut it here. You find the stun onto this jungler.
Know that Halls is the target you want to get this fight started up against. Is Mr. America going to take a boatload of damage from Mighty Kraus and will fall down. Chuzzy Guns picks that one up with the Meep. Now it's Show Me up too far, going into the stasis. Didn't get to pop Shoal Shackles first and will go down to High Legacy. Ooga Booga has the Chaos Storm right on top of him. Flashes forward just to try to pick up one kill, but it's not going to work out. And it's looking just like game number one. Go Farino. Redakted cannot find any kills. They're going to get clean aced 5 for 0. And ISU Masters are going to stamp a ticket to top 2 coming into playoffs.
And it was a much closer game this time around. Redakted had that really thunderous start there and put their foot down in this game, but ISU Masters just able to rally it on back. They got some nice picks come mid to late game. You still have that Victor just so damn farmed up and one-tapping everyone, and once you get the Infernal Soul, well, you just pop them even harder.
Absolutely here. So looking at my chart here, because we know We Live Solbert ended up losing over on the other stream, so Travelers are going to qualify themselves. So that means that it's going to be an ISU SDC Travelers win. So we've got the full playoff bracket here, Go Farino. It's going to be SDC as your first seed, ISU as your second seed, Redakted as your third seed, and Travelers as the fourth seed for your Risen Divine playoffs.
Yep, and oof, you can see just how close this game was until that was after 30 minutes. Yeah, it was neck and neck for the most part, but I mean, ISU Masters in the late game, just finding all these fights and winning them very handedly.
Yeah, and what that means at the end of the day, Go Farino, is that through a hard-fought 2-0 series, ISU have earned themselves side selection in a rematch with Redakted that will take place next week.
All right. Let's see if they get the salty run back here for Redakted, because they had such a strong showing in the regular season. And then tonight, I mean, they get 2-0'd here by ISU Masters, who on paper, they were kind of slotted to defeat all of us here on the desk, except for Spooky, having it as a 2-0 in favor of Redakted.
Yeah, Spooky's going to be real happy about that one. I thought it wasn't it Dobby? Because this is Dobby's team.
Or was it Dobby?
I thought it was Dobby.
I know
think
me
it
and
was
you
Dobby.
both said 2-0, and then one of
Yeah,
either
I think it
Dobby
was
or
Spooky
Spooky
joined
said it
us.
was
I
2-0.
think Dobby is biased towards his ISU boys. So, congrats to Dobby. Congrats to the ISU Masters squad, who are now going to have to play this same matchup next week. And I think the big question is going to be if Redakted can run the full roster coming into next week. Is they looked a little bit better with Asadero, but I think they certainly would have liked to be able to run the full squad of 5. Didn't end up working out for them this evening. Or, if they are going to be going forward with a substitute, if they are going to continue to use either Illuminus or somebody else, hopefully they get a little bit of extra time to practice with that squad and can come in looking stronger up against ISU next week.
Because there, like you said, it is going to be a rematch next week, so that's going to be a fun one to watch.
Absolutely. I do think we're going to make a point to probably not feature the exact same game 2 weeks in a row. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest that maybe our matchup next week will be Redacted up against Travelers. That's an exciting one for certain.
Maybe.
Especially because, Redacted, they might come in as the favorite. Or sorry, it's not Redacted versus Travelers. It's going to be Death Cards versus Travelers. But that's going to be an exciting matchup because, well, Death Cards are probably, pretty heavily the first seed and would be the favorite of the matchup. They did lose to Travelers in the regular season, so will be an interesting rematch between those two squads.
I'm excited to see it. Gonna be next Monday at 8 p.m. barring any scheduling change-ups. Has been known to happen, but yeah.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it. We have got our bracket set for the Risen Divine League playoffs. Those are going to start off next week here. Same time, same channel, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will feature our very first. It will be a best of 3, as that will be winner's bracket. I'm going to make sure I'm not a liar there. I am not. So going to be a best of 3 matchup, either between first and fourth seeds or between second and third seeds. Bracket is locked. We will see you guys here next week for that one. But that's going to do it for tonight's stream. We'll be back with more Risen Leagues throughout the week. We'll be back here next week for that first playoffs matchup. But for myself, from Gopherino, from Dobby and Spooky over on the other stream, and from Caddy, who's on production for both streams simultaneously, thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We will see you next time.